It's not ideal to be cut open.
You just moving back and forth like this. You're like, what's going on down there?
Postpartum anxiety came and backhanded me, and I was like, whoa.
Take a day by day.
I love motherhood.
How your life just gets altered like that.
We gonna get this baby out of here.
But you have to create and cultivate your village. You have to create and cultivate your social media.
Try to be clear. I'm not doing this no more.
I don't like it. I don't want to do things with them. And just be among them.
Today I'm joined by Halle. Halle has a 4-year-old son. She is an entrepreneur and she's amazing as far as I know. So she's going to tell us about her motherhood journey today. To start, can you introduce yourself?
Yes.
And like what's your, not your connection, but like what I told you about this and like what it means to you. But also, I want you to share one thing about yourself that does not revolve on that's a mandatory. You have to share one thing about yourself that doesn't have anything to do with motherhood.
I love that. Okay. So, as you mentioned, my name is Halle Deneen. I am a professional model, content creator, and entrepreneur. So I actually teach models and content creators how to get started in the industry, how to build their brand, and how to work with their favorite brands and get paid. So I've been doing that ever since 2017. And while I love being on the front of the camera and in front of the camera, I absolutely love helping people reach their dreams and reach their goals. I also love working with the youth and doing like public speaking. So I've done a little bit of that my entire career. And now I'm a mother. So that is a huge part of who I am. And when you asked me to be on this podcast, it really resonated with me because I feel like motherhood is not talked about. And there's so many different aspects of motherhood that need to be talked about, right? And it's important because we're all going through this. And I feel like if there's some type of community and some type of conversation around the nuances and the aspects of motherhood that are dark and the aspects of motherhood that are great, I feel like we could all learn something from each other as a mom. Whether you're a single mom, whether you have support, whether you grew up a certain way, it's so many different perspectives that is important in this topic. So that really resonated with me. I'm so excited to be here to talk about my journey. And then one thing about me that has nothing to do with motherhood, but that I love, it's like a random fact, but I love bowling.
See that coming.
It's so funny because my dad loves bowling. So growing up, I used to always go to the bowling alley with my brother. And now I'm just like a beast. Like, I'm a beast. I'm telling you.
Now, outside of this, I'm not a beast at all. I can hit a few strikes.
Okay.
But now I want to see you. Now I want to see you.
Listen, we need to have a bowling party. I always say that. I want to have a bowling party.
It's so random.
I know, it's such a random fact, but I love it.
Okay, Papa. All right. I need 2 minutes because, of course, he took now to poop. So just give me I'm a wonderful.
Take your time.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with the pregnancy.
Okay.
I'll give you this fair warning. I do have a list of things that I talk about, but also I go on tangents all the time.
Me too.
If you need to reel me back in, just be theory. It's fine.
Okay. Me too. So we here with it. Here with it.
So to start, how did you feel when you learned that you were pregnant?
So when I learned I was pregnant, I had a mix of emotions, if I'm being honest. When I was in college, I had really bad fibroids. And I ended up getting my fibroids removed because they were so big and painful. During that time that I got the surgery, my OBGYN at the time said that there was a huge possibility that I would never have kids. Because I was in so much pain, I'm like, girl, take these things out. I don't care about none of that. Take them out. And so I kind of lived with this idea that, there was a potential that I would never have kids. And when I got pregnant, it was like one of those things where it was like, this might be like my only child, right? Like in my mind, I'm like, this might be my only child. So I felt grateful, but I was also scared. I was also scared because I didn't really know what was coming with motherhood. Like, I feel like you see people get pregnant and it looks like all bliss, right? You see the baby shower and you see all the smiles, all the gifts, and all of these picture perfect families on social media, and you think that it's all bliss. And that's what I thought at the time, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, like I could be a good mother and, all these things. I'm ready. And no one really told me, about motherhood. Like, it's a reason why it's called motherhood, like it's really the hood. And nobody told me about the hood part of motherhood. So I feel like I was excited. I was nervous. I was all the feels once I found out I was pregnant. And then after that, I kind of just was like, all right, let's do it. Like I was really like excited to have my son.
Yeah. So you mentioned like seeing all the bliss and everything. What English was that? I don't know. So did your pregnancy like go how you envisioned it to go?
Absolutely not.
Okay, tell me about that.
So my pregnancy was probably the toughest, most traumatic thing I've ever gone through. And the reason being is because right when I got pregnant, I kind of knew that I would be a single mom by choice. And it was my decision just because I knew that I wanted more for my son.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the back of my mind, and even through pregnancy, like I knew like I'm going to be a single mom. And it started while I was pregnant. So what I thought my pregnancy would look like was like, oh, I'm going to have a supportive partner. I'm going to be getting the back rubs and do this and cute little dates and cute little walks. But I feel like once I got pregnant, everything shifted with my partner. Even though we were together for a long time, things just started to look different. And I have always been the type of person growing up that I never wanted to stay with someone for the sake of the child, even if I was unhappy. And so the minute that I was unhappy or like my happiness turned to a point where it was like, I can't do this, I knew that I was going to be a single mom. And my pregnancy reflected that. So I didn't really have a lot of support throughout my pregnancy. I had my mom, my dad, my brother, like my immediate family was there. And I had like support like via text and calls from my family. But a lot of my family doesn't live in Maryland. So, like the physical support was my immediate family. And in saying so, I didn't have like a supportive partner throughout my pregnancy. So a lot of even the doctor's appointments I was going to by myself. Um, Everything I did alone, like going for walks, like all of those things where you kind of want that support. I was doing it by myself. And that made my pregnancy very lonely, because it's like you want that time, especially while you're so vulnerable. And it's like, it's such a difficult time as a woman going through pregnancy. Like, yes, there's good parts, but your body is changing, your hormones are changing, like, like everything is changing while you're pregnant. And I feel like having that support from your partner is so important. So when I didn't have that, it was kind of like, all right, me and God was really locked in, like really locked in. That was like the closest I had ever gotten to God, because I knew I needed God's strength to carry me through my pregnancy. And then on top of that, I told you how I got my fibroids removed. My fibroids actually came back while I was pregnant. Yes, which was crazy. So I had a lot of pain at the top of every trimester. And I'm talking about excruciating pain, like on the floor in a hurdle position in pain. So it was tough. Like physically, mentally, emotionally. It was just a lot on me, kind of going through those 9 months. So it was a little traumatic for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A quick question, because I told you tangents happen.
Mhm.
Did they ever tell you why your fibroids were like why the pain would happen at the beginning of each trimester? Like what was
They
if there
didn't.
was science behind it?
Yeah, they didn't say as to why it was like at the top of the trimester. Like I'm telling you, as soon as I hit that third trimester, that second trimester, it was like that first week was insanely painful. But they couldn't tell me why. They told me why my fibroids came back because it was like if you have like the grounds for like the hormones to kind of produce fibroids when something like that, like if you get pregnant, it could come back.
Okay.
I'm like, so what did I get this surgery for? But anyways, I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, but they couldn't tell me why. Like at the top of the trimester, I was in that much pain. But yeah, it was bad.
Okay. And so I know now you're an entrepreneur. Were you working then for yourself, or were you working for a company?
Yeah, so throughout my pregnancy, I was working. I worked my entire pregnancy. So shout out to all my clients during that time because it was crazy. Like I was doing one-on-one sessions. I'm talking about 7 months pregnant, belly huge, doing one-on-one sessions, working, going to set. I even had a few like modeling clients during my pregnancy where I was like so winded on set and like needing multiple breaks,
Mm-hmm.
ankles swollen, but I worked my entire pregnancy. And I think that's a reason too why my pregnancy never felt like soft. Like it just felt hard the entire time because on top of me going through different emotions, my body changing, my mindset changing, I was also working. So I'm putting more stress on my body as well. Um, trying to take care of myself, trying to save for my son, all of these things like played a huge role in like my mental health. So yeah.
Son, if you stop touching it, it'll play the song. Okay. Brother can help you. Okay. Um, with all of that, because it sounds like a lot. And what did that teach you about yourself? And I mean, I can kind of gauge the second part. What did it teach you about the people in your life during that time?
It really made me cherish those who are in my corner. Like I would always say, I mean, I would always hear like it takes a village, it takes a village, it takes a village. But it wasn't until I went through my pregnancy and even now with my son that I rely so much on my village. And growing up, I was so independent. I could do this. I got this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. It was always me, 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 and I could figure it out on my own. But when I became pregnant and going through my pregnancy alone, it was like, oh no, I'm actually going to have to rely on the people that love me a lot, like, and be vulnerable enough to do that and be humble enough to do that. Um, and that support, like needing that support from them looked different, right? Like for
Yeah.
my mom, it might have been emotional support. And like there was even a point where my mom moved in with me and was staying with me my entire pregnancy, like making sure that I was okay, making sure that I ate, making sure that I drank water, like her physically being there and like caring for me, even though I'm grown and pregnant, she still treated me like I was her baby girl, and like for some of my other support systems, that might have been like them saying like, let me get your groceries this week. Like, let me just step in where you need me to. And I've never been in like a vulnerable state to do that because in my mind, it's always been me, 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 let me figure it out. I could do it myself. And so it taught me that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to rely on those that say that they love you, especially in the place that I was in. And also it taught me that like I'm stronger than I really think I am. Like I always knew I was strong, but when you go through certain things, it's like, ooh, like, ooh, this is a trying season, right? And I feel like that season of my life, it did everything to break me. But I was so persistent and I was so reliant on God that it was like nothing could stop me from my mindset of like delivering a healthy kid and like maintaining my happiness on top of that. So yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. You talked about your mom coming to help you.
Mhm.
And what am I saying? Like, okay, when you gave, well, not even when you gave, well, yeah, once you had the baby and she was there, that like make you see her in a different light, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, once I had my kid, I feel like I've said this on every episode, but it's also very true. But like, once I had my kid, I was just like, Dad, I would do anything for you. And like, no, like, do my mama feel that way about me? And then I was like, this was her first time raising the kid too.
Yeah.
She made a million mistakes, but obviously there are things that everybody could do different in life. So like, did it change how you thought about you and your mother's relationship at all?
It definitely did because I feel like growing up, you see like the women in my family, they made everything look so easy when it came to motherhood. I didn't see them ever struggle. I didn't see them ever complain about motherhood. Everything looked so easy. And when I became a mom, and I feel like I had this huge reflection moment where it was like, wow, like you actually went through, even my dad too. Like my dad was so militant growing up with me and my brother. Everything was militant. I'm talking about we up folding clothes, we making our beds every morning. We do it. It was like a Ted Chuck, like it was so it was so militant. And he was like, he was very I don't want to say hard on us, but he demanded greatness from us.
Mm-hmm.
And with my son, he is a completely he is really basking in his grandpa energy. So I feel like I have such a deeper appreciation for my parents. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I was not the best acting. Actually, I was. It was my brother who was bad. But I'm sure I had my moments too when I was a toddler, you know? Like, I'm sure I got on my mother's and my parents' nerves. And like them trying to figure it out at the age that they were. You know, it's like I think when we're young, we have this picture of our parents, and it's like, oh my God, they could do no wrong, and like they're perfect, and they're this, they're that. But it's like they were once 27, they were once 24, trying to figure things out, maybe figuring out how they're going to pay the bills, and they got me and my brother running around, like all of those things I think about. Um, and it's like I just have a deeper appreciation for who they are as parents, and it's like them stepping in now with my son, it shows me just how selfless their love is for me and my son.
I agree with everything you said. I heard everything you said. I know these kids are right around the background, but I everything.
It's okay. You know,
See,
I understand.
but well, I don't know if this is true for you, but like if your son was in the screen right now, it would not bother me at all. I'm just like, but when it's my kids,
Listen,
I'm
I'm
just like,
dodging I was in deep prayer before this call. Like, Lord, please let me sleep. Like, please let him go to sleep because it would be a war zone out here. It would be a war zone. It would.
okay, sorry. So you said two things. One, you said like seeing the people, the mothers in your family, like they did not, you didn't see them struggle, which I also same. I don't feel like I saw much struggle from my mother, my aunts, and anything like that. And then when I became a parent, it made it. I was struggling, and I just felt like if I say something, feel like I'm complaining. I mean, I did because it's my truth and whatever. But I also felt like, am I complaining? Like I feel like our generation is better about saying things, but
Yes.
like it really much gave. Oh, I'm superwoman. I mean, they are. I still will say you are superwoman, but you didn't have to be. Or I don't know if you were complaining to your friends, but I would be complaining to my mother, and I was like, I don't know how you did this because you were younger than me. You had two
I
girls.
complain to everyone. I complain. I'm like,
Lady on the street.
I have no shame. I'd be like, this is so hard. Like, what in the world? And it's it is so and it's a trying journey. And I feel like every age requires a different version of you. which is also like you're growing with your child. You know, you're growing in a sense with your child. Like when they were an infant, you know, you might have been a different woman than you are with your 4-year-old. You know,
Yeah.
like my 4-year-old is like, this is a different level of patience, you know, between like the meltdowns and, you know, every aspect of it. It's like I'm becoming a different version of myself along this journey too, which is a challenge because if I'm not able to pivot and shift and try different parenting strategies that may have not worked when he was 3, it's like I would be stuck and I would be frustrated in motherhood, and it's already a frustrating journey. Um, and I was watching something the other day. I think it was like on TikTok, but it was like a lot of motherhood is giving a mature response to someone who is like naturally immature. Like our kids are naturally immature because of their age, but it's like we have to give such a mature response to that, you know, and that is difficult. So
So I feel like with my first pregnancy, I'm going on a tangent. The question is, did you do anything during your pregnancy to like prepare you for postpartum? I'm sorry, prepare you for motherhood, not so much postpartum, but like let me do this so I can remain myself. Like, did you have that knowledge, I guess to say, to prep for that?
I had nothing. Like I didn't read any books. I didn't go to any classes. I kind of wish that I would, but I feel like I also didn't have the space to do so. I didn't have the mental capacity. I didn't have the physical capacity. Like I feel like I was in true grind mode during my pregnancy, and I was also in such a strategic moment in my life because I was also trying. I knew once I gave birth, I had maybe like 3 months to find a new apartment because my lease was coming up. So that was like a whole nother thing too.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to move on top of, you know, about to give birth. So the only thing in my mind was making it to the end of my pregnancy and delivering successfully. Like there was really nothing that prepared me for motherhood. I didn't even have any other friends. I was the first in my friend group to get pregnant. So it wasn't like I could even ask anyone that had small children. Like I asked my family members how it was for them, but even hearing their journey is much different than my journey. You know, there was some things that they may have said to me that I've used and, you know, it might have worked like, oh, tummy time and like the basic things, but the thick of it, mm-mm, mm-mm. Like, yeah, nothing really prepared me.
Okay.
Nothing. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were your first mommy friend.
Yes.
So when your friends got pregnant, were you in their ear sounds bad, but like were you giving them the scoop on what to expect?
So it's funny because my best friend, her son, so my son was born May 17th and then her son was born in July. So we were pregnant at the same time. But I delivered, you know,
Yeah,
in May and she delivered in July. But we had one friend who her daughter is younger. So we was definitely like we have created such a community when it comes to this. I honestly don't know how I would make it through pregnancy, motherhood without them like in my corner. Okay.
So I do want to move on. I know you said like you were in the thick of it and you didn't do much preparation. So like I wanted to know about your OBGYN, like your team. Were they people like did you feel heard when you were speaking with them and things like that?
Oh yes. So my OBGYN, she was Black and I love her. She actually delivered me. So she was my mom's OBGYN. And she delivered me. So I absolutely love her. Like from start to finish, she also gave me a lot of guidance, a lot of tips, a lot of resources. Not that I used them because I was again in hustle and grind mode. And I was like, okay, you know, like if you weren't telling it to me directly, I was not signing up for a class. I did not have the capacity to do that. Like, you got to talk to me while you in front of me so I can soak up the knowledge and then go ahead about my pregnancy. But I love my OBGYN. Like, any time I felt that I wanted like a question answered, or if I was confused about something or needed knowledge about something, she was always there for me. And I really appreciate that, especially having like a Black doctor. Even during like the delivery, she was so committed to being with me that entire process. Even after I gave birth, she came in and like she would come into my room like 3 to 4 times a day, making sure that I was okay. You know, like, how are you as a mom? You know, like, of course, she would check on Caden and make sure that he was okay, but she would always be like, how are you doing? Like, mentally, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I appreciate that because I also feel like once you have a baby, everyone is like, oh my God, the baby, the baby, the baby. But it's so important to check on the mother as well. Like, how is the mom doing mentally? How is the mom doing emotionally? You know? So I really appreciated my OBGYN for that because I always felt heard. I always felt seen. I didn't feel like I had to fight for her to take me serious, or if I told her I was uncomfortable with something. Like, she was so attentive, and I love that. So, yeah.
Do you want to shout her out?
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Luna. And it's so crazy.
It was Dr. Luna?
Yeah. You know Dr. Luna?
She didn't deliver my kids because I had Rakim at home.
Okay.
But I was going to her for like, regular GYN things.
Wow. On crisis
until she left that practice recently. That's so funny.
Oh,
but she would have been the one to deliver Rakim if I didn't do a home birth. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, wait. So how I have to know now. I gotta know this.
So random.
A home birth.
Girl, I felt like it was quick. It was very quick. I wouldn't do it again. Not because it wasn't amazing. It was very amazing. And it was amazing. Like, I don't know how it was great. And then I got to go sit and lay in my bed and go to sleep. But the part that makes me hesitant to do it again, also it felt like that sounds so bad. But I felt like my butt was just like, and I live in a row house. So I was like, my neighbors probably hear me screaming at the top of my lungs right now. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, when I gave birth, he had his umbilical cord right on his neck 3 times. And they took it off right away, but like that could have gone another way. And that part scares me. So if I were to ever have another kid, it would probably be like a midwife hospital situation, and not with it being my 3rd kid, the labor shouldn't be that long anyway. So it should be quick. But it was like so quick. Like my water broke at 8:00 and he was born at 9:30. And if I would have went to it, like if I was planning on having a hospital birth, I probably wouldn't have made it to the hospital because like I was chilling. Not I was chilling, but I was just like, I'm not having a baby tonight.
And then boom.
And then the baby was sick. I was like, Jamal, I'm like, this is not happening. Let's just, relax. And then everybody had to hurry up and come because it was a midwife too. It was the midwife. She had 2 student midwives, and I had a doula. So, but everybody made it. Like I gave birth at 9:30. The head midwife got there at 9:10. So like I gave y'all $6,000 to do the work myself, kind of.
Okay.
Oh, but she unwrapped the umbilical cord around his neck, so that was worth the $6,000.
Yeah, for sure. But, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that worked out. That is crazy. I was thinking about getting a doula, but I guess I wasn't even educated to know the benefits of having one. Like, do you feel like it was worth it having a doula throughout your pregnancy?
Yeah. So the first one, it didn't cross my mind, but I think because of the first one is why I got the second time. But we're very close friends now, which is hilarious, but not hilarious, but like she was supposed to do one thing. But
I feel like it goes like that.
Today's her birthday, but that's not the
point. Well, happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday, Dre. Damn, I feel like she taught me a lot of things. Like even now, she taught me like breathing through things. And she taught me how I should be breathing when I'm giving birth.
Yeah.
And I done had a lot of episodes where I've done been worked up since I had Rakim. And I'll also always go back to that. I got this was like TOI. Don't care though. I got really, really high at a Beyonce concert, and I was in there doing labor breaths because I need to get back down to earth. Like, really, really helped me through pregnancy, but also like she taught me other things that like
table skills.
Yeah. So, And then I think even like I said, my mother, she was there and she was like, I thought she wasn't going to want to push because when I felt that first push, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But like she helped me, get it out. I feel like she did more work than my real life. I ain't gonna, that's what I
I
feel.
love that though. I
Yeah.
feel like that's so important to have. Like, yeah, I would definitely want a doula for baby number 2.
Yeah. So I know the fact that it was Dr. Luna is so hilarious to me.
I
But
know. I'm like, this is really a small world.
it is. This whole conversation just keeps me showing.
Yes.
So I know she was amazing and everything, but like, how was what hospital did you deliver at?
St. Joseph.
So how was that makes sense because of her.
Mm-hmm.
What was the nursing team like? What was the hospital? Were they as gentle as her?
For sure. Like even though my pregnancy was rough, the delivery was smooth. So I did have a scheduled C-section because of my fibroids. I didn't want one, but my fibroids were growing and it was like a risk. It was very risky to birth naturally and I didn't want any complications. And he was like, it's going to be small, a little small. I said, great, keep it cute. I can do it. And I'm gonna do it. Keep it cute and I can do it. But I love the staff. Like everyone was so friendly. There was a lot of like Black doctors there too. I feel like it's just so important to see yourself in these rooms, and then the other nurses, right? Like even if they weren't Black, they were still very attentive and like nice and caring. They explained everything. Because like even though I got a C-section, it was like a curtain. And I'm like, what's going on? Because I really can't. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Is he coming? Like what's going on down there? So like, let me know. I'm just sitting here. So they was explaining everything the entire way. Like when Kaden was coming out, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so I love that, I love that. And I loved how caring they were as well. So I really have nothing bad to say about St. Like I would want to deliver there every time because of how amazing my experience was.
I'm gonna get mushy.
Ooh.
I'm corny. That's not the point here. What did you feel the first time you saw your baby?
Oh my gosh. I was in like disbelief. I was in a good disbelief. Like, I feel like being pregnant for so long, it's like your stomach is growing and the baby is in there. But the minute that your baby is born and you see your child, it's like, oh my goodness. Like it's a feeling that I really cannot even describe. But I feel like in that moment, it was almost like, this is what life is about. Like I felt like I had a deeper meaning to life and a deeper purpose of life. Like my world became so much less about me and so much more about us, And I think that's life changing. Like that is so life changing. Like mothers we're forced to be selfless. Like if you're not already selfless person, you're going to be selfless once you have a kid, a good mother at least. Yeah. And so I feel like I was already pretty selfless prior to having my son. And now it's like he has brought so many things out of me. But I think that moment I saw him, it was just like my life completely changed. Like, yeah, I had such a deeper meaning of what life really means once I saw him come out.
Yeah. So we're just going to get you. Listeners know this is Nigel's favorite part of the episode.
Okay.
Postpartum.
Ooh.
I feel like I told you this. I think it was the biggest shock to me, and I assume like we're talking out the mothers. I feel like it's the biggest shock about the whole process as well. So, yeah. What was that first month like for you?
That first month was the trenches. It was bad. It was bad. I'm not even gonna. I feel like I have to be as transparent as possible. Mm-hmm. It was not fun for me at all. Like specifically because one, Motherhood was a complete learning curve for me. Like I did not know. I knew how to change a diaper, and even breastfeeding was difficult for me. And so after I gave birth, I noticed my body was changing, like my stomach was no longer cute and flat. Um, no longer cute and flat. Like those days are over for real. Like it was. I feel like too when you look at social media, like the girls who give birth and that snapback season. It's like there was so much. I feel like that snapback from giving birth is so toxic for women because we expect in our mind to give birth and just go back to this snatched body when that's not realistic. It's just not realistic. Some women are able to do that, cool, but not all women are like that. Like your body changes so much. Like you may have stretch marks, your stomach is not as flat, you may have gained weight in different areas, and that's okay. Like you literally brought a human into this earth. Like you literally was fruitful and you multiplied. So I feel like I went through that though, like that the psychological um, the psychological pain that I kind of went through from like, oh my gosh, my body is no longer how it used to be. And I think too, like me being a model, I was super critical of myself and my looks. And during that time, that first month, I didn't get no sleep. When I say no sleep, because in the womb, Caden was up all night and he was asleep all day. So when he came into this earth, he was up all night and sleep all day. Like my family would come over and be like, he's asleep, wake him up, he's sleep. He would be knocked out throughout the day. But at night, he's up the entire night. So the schedules, me and his schedule was so off. So I think being sleep deprived, being critical of my body, going through it alone, like without a partner, like a supportive partner, was also still played a major role. Breastfeeding was also very tough for me because of how stressed I wasn't able to produce milk at all. And I knew it was stress because me and my best friend, Tiana, ended up going to Atlanta. And when I tell you, I was so out of my mind during after I gave birth. Like I had this thing where I thought I was moving to Atlanta. That's how, and I would never move to Atlanta. Love Atlanta, but I just had this thing. I'm like, I'm going to Atlanta. I'm looking for apartments. Like I was just like, I gotta get out of Baltimore. Like I was just so stressed. So we went to Atlanta, and I brought my pump because I was away from like that toxic environment. When I tell you, I pumped so much milk in Atlanta. So the difference in me being in a stressful environment versus a non so stressful environment was so prevalent in my ability to produce milk. So I knew it was stress, but I had to go back home to this stressful environment and still be a mom, still show up and do all of the things. So first month was rough.
Yes. That's not I don't know if interesting is the word. And cool isn't the cool. I feel like cool is the word that I want to say, but cool isn't the word either. But like how you can literally see the impact
Yes.
that stress is having on your body. Same about from the environment. No, I'm just making my computer camera straight. So when you did have to stop breastfeeding, how did you feel about that? Like,
to be honest, I felt it was a lot of guilt that I felt because I prided myself in like I had this vision of me wanting to breastfeed all the way up until he was one. And it was like, dang, I couldn't even last like what, 2 months, So I beat myself up about that. And I would hear so many different things about formula fed and, how it has this in it and, breastfeeding is the most natural way. Like I would hear that all the time, right? And it was like, well, I want to breastfeed, but I literally just can't. And I remember I had a talk with my OBGYN one time, and I was telling her, like, I'm just so stressed out about the fact that I can't breastfeed my child. And she looked at me, she was like, Haley, as long as your child is fed, she's like, that's what you have to keep in mind. Like, some women just aren't able to breastfeed, right? But as long as your child is fed. And I sat with that and I was like, all right, like, I can't beat myself up. I'm just gonna, start formula. And we did it. Like, and I knew that, all right, if I'm gonna do formula, from then on, I have been so like critical of what I give Caden to eat. So like I knew that I wanted to puree all of his foods myself. Like I didn't feed him Gerber or any like store bought food. Like I would mix carrots and the peas and make a puree together. Like I would make his little banana and strawberries using real bananas, real strawberry. Like I wanted to do that process because I wasn't able to breastfeed him. So I wanted him to grow up on organic food, no sweets. I'm so, yeah, it's a little strict over here, but.
But your father had you make folding clothes.
I know, now I'm over here like, no sweets, we're not doing that. Like, it's real militant, but but I love that for him. I really do because, yeah, I just love that because he is like a real big fruit eater and he really does not know anything about sweets. Like at his birthday party, there was a piñata. That boy picked up one lollipop and like all of his friends had bags of candy. They looked like they went Halloween trick or treating. Like, and he had one lollipop. Like, oh, what's this? So it's like, I love that. I love that. So
and candy's sticky.
I
said candy is sticky.
It's so sticky.
It's not,
And
it's
then
not
like my son is already very active.
Mhm.
I'm like, the thought of him having any type of candy, I would literally go hide in my closet somewhere. Like seeing him zip around, like I would literally go hide. I'd be hiding, but yeah.
So what did I feel like a big part of, I don't want to say making it through postpartum, but making it through postpartum is the support around you. So what did your support look like during that season of your life?
Yeah, I feel like my support system was my family and my friends for sure. Like the same support system that got me through my pregnancy was the same support system that got me through like postpartum. And like my mom and my dad and my brother, like I cannot thank them enough, even to this day. Like times where I just needed a break, to go sit at a restaurant by myself and just like have my laptop or just go for a walk. Like they never complained about stepping in and just saying, I'm gonna sit with him. Like I'll watch him. You go do that. Take your time. Come back when you want. Like had I really had a lot of freedom with that because my parents and my friends knew that I was going through postpartum and they didn't want to see me like that. They wanted to help me in whatever way that I could. So I took the time necessary. Like if I wanted to go to the spa, if I wanted to go for a walk, if I wanted to go shopping, like whatever that looked like that I wanted to do, I did that. And I did also try to do things that made my life easier, like ordering groceries versus going to get groceries, or like having someone go pick up the groceries and bring them here. Things like that, where it was just like less stress, more convenience in my life. But I feel like postpartum for me lasted a little minute. Like I want to say all of Caden's first year was a tough time for me, and I didn't start to really see the light or feel like myself until like year 2, year 3. Like to be honest, like, and I could fake it. I could fake it real well. Like, oh, I feel like I'm coming out of, like I feel like myself, but like, deep down inside when you feel like, all right, I got a little grip on motherhood. I'm starting to feel like me again. And not even me, but like a new version of me.
I was literally
Um,
about to ask you that.
yeah, like, because I feel like a part of becoming a mother, you also mourn who you
Mhm.
were prior to motherhood. You know, like I had so much freedom before becoming a mother. I didn't have to think twice about a tiny human being. You know, I could get up and go. I can get up and do this. If somebody say, "Hey, you wanna come to this event?" Yes, I'm there,
Yeah.
right? But now it's like, okay, who's gonna watch Kaden? Okay, you cooking for two, you cooking for three. It looks so different, and I think motherhood, because I'm such a selfless person. When I had Kaden, I'm pouring like extra
Mhm.
of myself into Kaden, and I will often find that who's pouring into me.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I gotta refill my own cup, right? But it's like, when do I have the time to do that? When do I have the space to do that? So that's what I kind of battled with for so long, was just like having that space and having that time. And I think also as a single mom, it's like 10 times harder, because it's not like someone is stepping in and saying, I'm gonna do this while you do this, right? Like, yes, my family, but like on a day to day, it's like me figuring out, all right, I still got to run my business. I still got to do this. Do I need to go get a job? I still got to do this. And then also take care of my son. So it was really, tough, but I would say like my family and my friends really helped me get through that. And then I also ended up getting a therapist, which was great. So, um, that kind of helped me to kind of talk through those emotions and figure out different strategies. So yeah, that really helped
Yes.
me.
How did you know, okay, I need to go speak with someone, or I need more support? Like what were you, not what were you going through? Because you told us that, but what
Mhm.
let you know, like, this is bigger than me and more than I can handle myself?
Yeah, I feel like growing up, a little backstory. Growing up, therapy was never talked about in my family. Like every issue was kind of like you just kind of get through it. I don't know how people were getting through it, but it was just like you kind of got through it, right? And there was also such a I don't know, like we never talked about therapy in my family, and it wasn't really talked about in my community as well. Like, and so going through postpartum depression and going through these new feelings, I didn't know how to navigate that on my own. And it's like, yes, I could talk to my friends, but sometimes I need like an unbiased opinion, and I need strategies, and I need systems, and like, all right, when this happens and you feel this way, let's journal. Let's do, like, I need someone to hold me accountable, and with those weekly check-ins, and my journal prompts and things that I love to do, and just like that simple reminder to kind of talk through the parts of me that I maybe have not even uncovered, right? And I think because I was going through so many different things at once, like it wasn't just the pregnancy, I meant the postpartum, it was like the moving, it was becoming a single mom, it was so many different things. And I felt myself being so overwhelmed to the point where I wanted to talk to someone. And then also it was like, I don't want to keep talking about how I'm having such a terrible time with motherhood in my group chat, like, of course, my friends will always be there for me and they never judged me. They were always supportive. But I felt like I was doing so much, like every day I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so this, I'm so that. And it was almost excessive. So I was like, I want to talk to someone that this is their job to, like, they're certified in this, they have so much experience in this. So that's when I kind of knew, like, this is heavy, it's heavy. And I knew that during my pregnancy, like I said, one thing that it taught me was to like rely on my tribe and that support system. and your support system looks different, right? There's so many different ways of support. And I knew that therapy was one of those ways that I needed support. So I was like, I gotta lean on therapy.
Sorry, you just reminded me something. My
What?
brain. You said shit, I already forgot. Oh, yeah. I can't remember, but I know the basis. Earlier in our conversation, you said like you knew what like your mother's support was more emotional and your friend's support was
Mhm.
your mother's support was physical and other people may be emotional. Um so like on the topic of support, was it easy for you to say, all right, mom, this is what I need you for? Like after you had him, because I know you said you were very independent and like you weren't
Mhm.
used to asking for help. So it's like, all right, ma, I need this from you. Dad, can you go get my groceries? Brother, can you do this for me today? Was it easy for you to like delegate in a sense
It
to make
was.
your
It was because I know my family and I know like how they show up for me and
Mhm.
like their love language. So it was easy, it's kind of natural because my mom is like physical and emotional. So it's like having her there physically to support me emotionally or like to help me fold clothes or whatever that was is different than my dad, who's a little bit more militant and can do like acts of service. Like
Yeah.
that's his love language, and like gift giving. So like him getting me things and like things like that. Like it's easy because I know my family's love language. So it was easy to say like, all right, I need this, or I need
Hmm.
this, or Ma, can you come help me do this? So that part was easy for sure. So yeah, I just feel like I don't know, going through postpartum was something that I didn't even expect that at all, right? Like my delusional self thought that I was going to have this.
I see that coming.
I thought I was going to have this kid and be like back on set,
Hmm.
life picked back up. I had no idea that it would affect me the way that it did. Like, no idea. Like, I didn't even feel comfortable and confident enough doing photo shoots after giving birth. Like, I remember I worked with this huge black owned brand and we did, oh my gosh, it's crazy even think about it because I just saw the pictures. Like, I went and saw the pictures the other day and we were shooting swimwear.
Hmm.
Mind you, I'm maybe like a couple months postpartum. And I remember thinking like while on set, like, wow, I don't feel beautiful at all. Like, and I felt it. And looking back at the pictures and how I am today versus back then, it showed.
100.
Nobody else might have been able to pick up on it, but it's like I saw my face and I was like, oh, like I remember how I felt and I remember being so subconscious about my body and like just not feeling myself. So it affected me in ways that like I would have never imagined, and I feel like I always say this, but I feel like if I had a supportive partner after I gave birth, like I feel like that would have helped me so much because I wouldn't have felt so alone during that time or felt like I had to figure everything out, on my own or do everything on my own. So, yeah.
It's already it's already overwhelming with by itself.
Oh
So
my
then take it
gosh.
on by yourself
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you, especially you guys were in a relationship after you had, yeah. So like
Yeah.
you're anticipating you're not doing this yourself.
Exactly. Like we were in a relationship for 6 years. And you at the time, I'm thinking this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And like I said, I feel like once I got pregnant, it was almost as if like God took a veil
Mm.
from off of my eyes and like I saw everything for what it was. And I didn't like it. I did not like it. And it was like, dang, you've been in this for how many years and you ain't, see this or see that. But I knew deep down inside that in me making a decision to become a single parent, I knew that it would be hard. I didn't know it would be this hard. But I also knew that I wanted to, I knew my son deserved better. And I didn't want him to see what a younger version of me thought was love, but it really wasn't love. I didn't want my son to grow up and see that as what love was, and for him to have a skewed perception of how a man is supposed to treat a woman. And I knew that I had to sacrifice being a single mom and waiting for the right man who would be a good example for what love is, and my son to see that. And so I told myself and I told God, I'm like, God, I'm going to take this step. I'm going to be a single mom. And God made sure that I never went without. Me and my son never went without, but it has been the hardest thing for sure. And I feel like single motherhood also already has so many preconceived, like people have these thoughts about like single motherhood, right? Like they always think like the guy left the woman and, oh, you're miserable, whatever the case is, right? We hear it all the time. But I think going through that as well, was like something that contributed to that postpartum depression.
Yeah, because society sucks. So fine, you mentioned just now, like you working enough to keep yourself in this. So, what did it look like? But like you said, it is so easy to lose yourself in motherhood. You got to take care of this little person. They need care 24/7. You don't have the freedom you used to have. So, what steps did you take to like get back to yourself, aside from like getting a therapist and things like that? Right.
Yeah. So I think that was the biggest thing that I have always honed in on is not losing me to motherhood. Because at a point during my postpartum depression, I felt like I was losing myself, right? And that was such a scary feeling because I've always known what I wanted. I've always had clarity. And I was at such a dark point in my postpartum that I didn't know who I was. And I was so engulfed in motherhood that my cup was so empty. Like I felt so empty, even though I had this bundle of joy that was full of life. I felt empty and like almost dead inside, almost like being transparent. And so when it got to that point, I made a vow to myself that I would never allow myself to lose myself again to motherhood. And from that moment, I made myself a priority. And I knew that I couldn't pour out of an empty cup. So I have to do what Haley needs to do to fill my cup up in order to be a good mom, in order to show up in my best self and, put my best foot forward for my son. So the things that I loved, like journaling, I love taking walks, even getting back into modeling, doing content creation, like working with brands, doing my coaching business, like all of those things. I literally made a list of all of the things that I love. It could be something as small as going to get some chocolate chip cookies. I love me some chocolate chip cookies, girl. But like I wrote out everything that Haley loves because I feel like coming from that point, I had to rediscover myself, right? Like it was almost like I was starting at ground zero and I had to learn who I was, but in a different way, right? Because yes, I'm a mother, right? But I'm Haley first, right? And Haley has to be okay in order to be a mother, like essentially. So I made a list, all the things I love from small to big, and I knew that as long as I did one of those things on that list every day, like I felt good, right? And as time went on and as he got older and older and older, I found myself doing a lot more things on that list, like even now doing my daily walks. And if I don't have a walk, it's noticeable. Like I'm like a little cranky. I'm like what is going on? Yes, I'll be a little cranky. Like, did I get some fresh air today? I don't think I did. And I've just been mothering it out and, just overstimulated. So
Mhm.
I think having those moments where it's just you, right? Like that quiet time, and like what does that look like where you just get a peace of mind for a second? Because if not, I would go crazy. I literally would. Like motherhood is so loud. Like I literally just said this yesterday. Like it is always loud. Like, oh my goodness. And I've always hated loud sounds. So it's like loud. It's chaotic at times. Like it's toys everywhere. It's cleaning up it's so much on a day-to-day basis that a lot of people may not even realize, like little things. So I think having those moments to yourself and having those things that you enjoy without your kid being around are so important.
Yeah. And earlier you had mentioned like you have the kid. It's like, okay, we got these 10 people, my family, these 10 people. I have
Mhm.
this baby, like they love me and they're here for me. Then I have this baby and it's like, oh, you still exist. And it's just like
Yes.
you go from being poured into by so many people to it's not
Mhm.
that they don't care about you, but it's just like their focus changes. And it's like, I need this love and care and attention that you're giving this kid right now because I'm the one who went through something life changing. Their life just started. They just want us to eat and sleep. Like,
Yes, they got it good.
I'm gonna feed them. You need to make sure I'm good. But
Okay. Who is caring about the
yeah,
mothers?
and then that makes it so I like how we were talking about how you had to mourn your old self.
Mm,
Like you have to mourn your old self, and you have to not learn how to love yourself, but like essentially learn how to love yourself and what you
yeah.
need. No, I don't want to say nobody giving it to you, but like them early days are just like, how's the baby? Is the baby where's let me put the baby on FaceTime for me. And it's just like, well,
Yes.
did you
Yes.
ask me how I was first? Like,
How am I doing?
yeah. Did I
How,
eat today?
right.
You don't know if I ate.
hmm
But another part of this, and like I think finding yourself in motherhood is boundaries, and this is like not having candy and things like that. But also, again, your father, like you said, so I don't find this being a problem. But was it hard to set boundaries for you and your son with not outside, but like those outside of your home?
That is such a good question. So I was just talking about this in therapy too, because it has always been hard for me to set boundaries for myself,
Mhm.
even up until now. I feel like I am a retired people pleaser. And now I am able to set like I'm still working through it. But for my son, it's so easy for me to set boundaries for him. Like I am his biggest advocate.
Mhm.
It's like I am the one that has to say what it is, and it is that, and I don't be caring what anybody thinks. Like, and it's just that it is what it is. And so I was talking to my therapist about this, and I was telling her like, when it comes to Caden, it's so easy for me to do that, but when it comes to me, it's like like I'm kind of hesitant with it, right? And she asked me, she was like, you said that you are your son's biggest advocate. She was like, but what about you? Like, why aren't you your biggest advocate? And I was like, oh, girl, hey, I gotta think about that, because why is it so hard for me to,
Mhm.
stick up for my needs as a mom, but also as a person? Um, and so I'm working through that. But when it
Okay.
comes to Caden, it is so easy for me to set boundaries for him, because
Mhm.
he is on such, like, he needs a schedule, right? Like, and if he's off of that schedule, everything in his life melts down, right?
Mhm.
Like he melts down. So everything from like his morning routine and his evening routine, like he has to stick to a schedule. There are certain things he eats, he doesn't eat, he's a picky eater. So it's like those things, it has to be what it is. It has
Mhm.
to be what it is. And of course, like grandma always wants to give him sugar and butt cakes and this and that and just butt cakes. She be trying to give him lemon butt cakes. And I'm just like, Mom, please. And you always hear those things like, oh, the grandma's always going to do what, the grandma wants. And it's like, sometimes I literally just have to set hard boundaries, even with my mom. And she might not listen all the time, but I feel like it's my duty to set the standard of, what I need and what Kaden needs, really.
So the wrap. So I know you learned many lessons, during this journey. What has been the biggest lesson that you would like to share that you learned?
I would say the biggest lesson that I've learned through my motherhood journey is that grace is not just something that you give to others, but it's also something that you have to give yourself. And that has been something that I've really had to notice. Like, while motherhood is beautiful, it's amazing, right? It has such amazing moments and you learn so much, but it's also unpredictable, right? It's messy at times, it's humbling, it's all of the things. But I'm learning that it's okay to not have all the answers, right? And to ask for help, to rest, to evolve, to learn more about yourself. And I feel like in every phase of my child's growth, like I said before, it requires a new version of me. And that constant journey of becoming has like stretched me, right? And it has taught me so many different things about myself. And it has just been a beautiful journey. So I feel like motherhood has taught me that I don't have to be perfect. Like, motherhood does not require you to be perfect. It only requires you to be present. So I would say that that's the biggest lesson that I've learned for sure.
And don't be mad at me because I'm switching the advice question up just a little bit.
Okay.
I'll add into it. What is one piece of advice that you like to give to expecting mothers? Okay. But also, what is one piece of advice that you like to give to mothers that are either entrepreneurs or looking to be entrepreneurs?
Okay, so one piece of advice that I would give to expecting mothers is to trust yourself. I feel like as mothers, once you become a mother, you already have everything that you need inside of you. And the world will try to tell you what kind of mother to be. Oh, do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. But I feel like the most powerful thing that you can do is listen to your own intuition because right? And you have to give yourself that permission to mother your own way, right? And your journey is going to look different from anybody else's journey. And that's a gift. Like, that's not a flaw. And I feel like you have to lean into that journey and continue to love on yourself and know that you were chosen for this you were chosen for this purpose. So that's the piece of advice I would give to expecting mothers. And to entrepreneurs, I would say that don't limit yourself, and allow motherhood to be the guiding force when it comes to you being an entrepreneur. I feel like once I had my son, it was like, oh, it's game time, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I gotta make it. It's game time. And you have to remember that it's bigger than you and that anything is possible, right? Because your support system might look different. You might, even if you don't have like your family or your friends, you can hire help. You can hire a nanny. You can hire this person. You could put your child in daycare or whatever that looks like, right? In order for you to get things done. So I would say to always carve out that space for you to know that anything is possible. A kid is not stopping nothing. Like, your dreams go on. Like, even this podcast, like, you've been able to do this while still being a mother so graciously, And it's right, but it's hard, but it's like, you're not letting it stop you from still showing up in this way, And I think that sometimes, with some entrepreneurs that I may have talked to that have kids, it's like, oh, but it's no way I can create content. I have a mom. I mean, I have these many kids, or like I have a kid, and it's like you can still do it. Like one of my pieces of content literally has my son running around in the back, and Instagram ate it up. You know, they was like, yes, more videos of him. I'm like, y'all don't know how chaotic that was, but you know, like you still show up for the things that you love despite you being a mom. Like that just adds on to who you are. It doesn't take away. So that is definitely a piece of advice I would give.
And so let the listeners know where they can find you and any plugs you'd like to make, or any products or anything, you know, that you would like to.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Halle Deneen. That's HALLEDENEEN. On YouTube at official Halle Deneen. And what do I say? Oh, I have a class coming up. I have a class coming up for models and content creators. It's July 19th in Columbia, Maryland. So if you're interested in modeling or stepping into the space of content creation, you don't have to have a ton of followers, but you will leave the class learning how you can get paid brand gigs and become a sign model. So join me on July 19th. You can visit my website at www.haleydeneen.com.
Wrong way, yo. Are you going to say hi?
Hi.
Okay. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us today. Thank you, Halle, for joining me today.
Of course.
Why are you back there looking? Please like the video if you're watching the video. If it's the podcast, share it. You know, all the things.
Yes.
Have a blessed day, guys. Bye.